Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. So in my last video, I talked about how some gaps in happiness at my workplace have propelled me to try to seek out get rich quick mentality with my art projects, with some other things in my life. I really see this is one of those things. The lighting in my believe it or not, little things like lighting in the office get to my nerves. In large part because not much bothers me here at Central Arizona College. And so when somebody chews gum loudly, when lights flicker, it really bothers me a lot because now that I don't have all the background humming in my life, I can actually hear these little details in my life, right? It's kind of weird. But there is one thing that would increase my happiness a lot if I can resolve. And that's why I'm making this one video, some positive change. You see, when I started my job at the community colleges last year at Phoenix College, I was sitting down to think about things that made me unhappy in my previous jobs. And I decided that I would be very cautious about ever helping any of my colleagues because a lot of times when I say one yes, people automatically assume everything's yes after that without really asking, right? And so, for example, I would fill in for a colleague at one really odd time, right? On a weekend after my hours. And then it became the default situation. I was working at a tutoring center just before Phoenix College, and so I made the mistake of answering the phone at a time that I normally wasn't scheduled. My colleague was tutoring some subject; he had no idea how to do it, and he asked me if I could get there like right away. And so I raced 80 miles an hour on the highway to get to the tutoring center, and the student really loved me. But as a reward for risking my life and getting there, I got all these wonky hours. I was working 3 to 8, 3 to 9, something like that. The kid who I tried to fill in for, he was only available from 1 to 2, if I remember correctly. So I had this one gap of 1 hour. And the schedule wasn't ideal for me. I mean, it wasn't the end of the world, but it wasn't ideal. But what I really despised was that my colleague didn't ask me if I was okay accepting that hour. He just kind of assumed that I was. And my boss, he was really impersonal. He just printed out the schedule with that hour in there. Every Saturday, he would give us a schedule. And yes, I could have replied to the schedule. Hey, I thank you for letting me know about this one student last week, but this hour doesn't really work for me. Got to remember where I was at the time. I hadn't landed the job at Phoenix College just yet. I wasn't really making a side income on my art projects. I mean, I had started, but it really wasn't a whole lot of money back then. So I didn't feel like I had the power to do that. And I feel like my colleague and my boss took advantage of the situation. And so when I started my job at Phoenix College, I told myself to just say no. And I called it the Nancy Reagan approach. And so my colleague would ask for any favor, no, 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 regardless of what it was, right? Even if the favor was something that I loved to do, right? It was at my favorite hour of the day, and I loved to do it. It was a student that I loved working with. Even then, just say no. That was kind of a zero tolerance policy that I had. And unfortunately, it's also created a lot of unhappiness because a lot of times I actually don't have a problem with that one situation. And more importantly, a lot of times I need favors myself. Next week, I'm going to go see a lunar eclipse, and I'm very grateful to have that opportunity to do that. But I'm still using a Nancy Reagan approach on everybody, and it feels I feel a lot of sadness from that. I want to be able to say yes. What I don't want to have happen is for people to take yes as the default answer from then on in. And that's something I have yet to resolve. And I'm afraid to do it, unfortunately. The other time I ran into this was many, many, many years ago. I was doing some private tutoring. I had just started. I had just lost my job at a technology startup, and I had gone onto Craigslist to advertise my tutoring services. One day, I was at the Bellevue Library. This is Bellevue, Washington. A kid, I want to say he was 13 years old, and his mom had just seen me finish up a tutoring session with somebody else. And she asked me about my background and all that. I asked me what I was doing. I made the mistake of telling her that I had just lost my job at the technology startup. Maybe I opened up a little bit too much. She is also Asian. I think she's Chinese. My family's from Taiwan, but she's from China. I opened up a little bit too much about myself, where I was in my life, my situation in terms of family background, and where I was doing with my work. I think I opened up a little bit too. In retrospect, I opened up a little bit too much, but at the time, I was lost in what was going on, and I gave her son a really good price for the tutoring. Now, it would have been nice if it ended at that, but she also wanted me to tutor her cousin and then one of their friends. And they kind of just assumed they could keep paying this ridiculously low rate that didn't even cover my gas to drive to the library oftentimes. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get the idea. So ever since those experiences, I've been scared out of my mind about saying yes to anything. And I've been playing Nancy Reagan for 2 years now, and I want to stop doing that. I want to start playing Donald Trump now. But no, not Donald Trump, Obama. Yes, we can, right? I want to start playing Obama now, but I'm afraid that it's going to go too far. But playing Nancy Reagan has brought me a lot of sadness this past semester, and I want to change that. And besides, I don't want other people to play Nancy Reagan on me all the time, right? And so I need to change that. And I want you to pray for me by leaving a like on this video that this is going to work out, right? This is the Peter Leicht Show. Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Leicht Show. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Leicht Show. Bum, 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 bum.